There we go, one Loctited in with retainer, grub screw and an oil blank. I might make a 3/8 Whitworth aluminium plug for over there as well, and Loctite that in, then probably just stake it like the original screw was. The hole up there through from the pressure relief valve through to the main bearing area opposite that one, goes straight through. It's about 5.8mm as it stands, just slightly under 6. So I'm going to tap that to M7, oddball size, but it's close to the wall a little bit and I don't want to take too much more meat out of it. So I'll tap it M7, I'll make a little alloy plug up to just fill that in. And that'll literally be just hand tapped because it's at a funny angle in the bottom, and you've got to kind of keep it square. And you're starting in half a hole because it's a taper. I'm just judging it for squareness and going by the feel of it if it's going in right. And there isn't much of a thickness of wall between that and the where the main bearing goes in, so I want to get as many threads per inch as I can on there, and M7 by 1 is fairly fine, and it's a tap I've already got, so that will do. Now what I could have done with hindsight is actually have put that in first and then machined the main bearing bush afterwards. That way it would have self-locked the grub screw in, because you're coming in at an angle. We shall get it. So I'm just going to pop off and make a grub screw to suit that. Just a little bit of plain turning and threading down with a die. Didn't get that one on camera, but just at the bottom there's a little aluminium slotted plug. That's M7 by 1 Loctited in. It was a bit awkward to get in at that funny angle at the bottom of the PRV valve drill in there, and that comes through into there at that hole there. The plug's about 8mm long, so it's not sticking out through there, but there's plenty of engagement in there. Can't get that angle of that in the shot. That's that bit done. And while we're tapping M7 for the PRV, I'm going to do this little thread here, M7 as well. Again, just by hand, because I'm coming in at a funny angle, sort of off tangent to a circle. And then I think I'll leave the plug out until we're fully done, possibly, just so that I can get get to that little gallery pipe if I need to clear it out. At worst with these, you could actually weld them up if you wanted to. But I'm trying to avoid welding on this conversion if I can, and do it all as a mechanical conversion, because I realise that alloy welding isn't always everybody's forte or ability. So that's just threaded M7 ready for a plug there now. That one, we can work out something for that as well, can't we? Do that one. Just before I fit the main bearing, I just want to verify that everything's likely to work out okay. So I'm just going to make a temporary nylon imitation bearing, if you like, to slide into the case and over the existing crank that hasn't been remachined for the new bearing, just to assemble the cases and give me an idea of where we're at the moment. I'll just do the outside diameter. Now we've got a bore that just slides over the crank as it is. I'll just do the outside diameter to just under 47, which is the diameter of our outside of our bearing, our NA or NKIB, whichever bearing. I just want this just to slide in without being a press fit. And it can be rough as you like, just rough as the size, rough finish. Using a bit of nylon like this is great just to try something if you're not too sure whether it'll work. Because it's cheap, it's really easy to machine. And it saves trying to turn it out of expensive materials. The only downside is it's messy as hell on the lathe and it doesn't pick up with a magnet. I'll just carry on getting that down to size and then I'll part it off. We'll try it in the case and on the crank. And now to part it off to length, which is 17mm, I just need to take the cutter up to the edge there 0 is the digital readout. And then move down 17mm plus 2mm for the width of the cutter tip, so 19mm. And I'm to size. At that point I'll just lock the saddle quick. Recheck with me caliper just to make sure I'm in the right ballpark and I've not made a mistake. That'll do. Spot the lathe up and pop that off. The nice thing with nylon is you can go straight in with your cutter. And get rid of the catch. And then just wants a quick deburr. And we've got a dummy bearing. And that just slides onto the crank as it is, and it'll just slide into the cases. And our little nylon spacer that goes on the crank should, yep, pop into our case. I can put the circlip in temporary, and then we've got a bush that fits the crank and the case, so we can mop that side up. I'll make another spacer to compensate for the wear in the other side of the crank that goes into the bearing, because I want to leave the bearing in the other half of the case. So same principle. And there it is with the circlip in. So we know now at least the circlip ears will clear the other bearing, the NA bearing, because this bore is bigger than that one. So yeah, and there's not too much rattle up and down. There's the sleeve so far before I parted it off. To do this one I've took an old inner bearing ring the right size. I had to put it over the sleeve that I'm making because it's not rigid enough and everything moves about with tends to move about a bit with nylon. So I'll probably have to repeat this again. Well, I will have to repeat this again when I make the sleeve for the crank out of the other material, out of stainless or steel or whatever I make it out of. But it's quite flexible being so thin. It's only 1.5mm thick total clearance, so it's 0.75 wall, so it's quite a thin spacer. And there is a tiny thin little sleeve that's sufficient to repair the crank. So I'll duplicate that probably in stainless because I've got some. And I'm ready for the first stage of fitting with our temporary bearings. So as the other one, I'm going to assemble the crank into this, sorry, the opposite way round this time. I'm going to assemble the crank into this side, the timing side, and then we shall put the drive side bearing on. So there's our crank with our little temporary plastic sleeve on. It looks almost like a slither of tape. And we should drop that in there. And this will give me a clue if it's going to turn. I'll put some temporary nuts on and I'll be back with you in a moment. And we're together and we turn. That's very encouraging, that is, and surprised myself. There's actually not any play in them bearings, even with just the nylon bushes, so I'm pretty confident that'll work fine as when it's built up with the proper bearings. Excellent. And that's led me to the reason why I've temporarily assembled it. If I can zoom in any without going out of focus, about there, and you can see that, try and get it in the camera, we've got actually a considerable amount of end float capability there. You see that gap down that, just on this side down there, there's several millimetres that side, and it's the same, we can see there, several millimetres, quite a lot, that side as well there. Now I don't know if these these long stroke cranks are narrower than the proper crank for these cases, but normally you wouldn't have that much clearance. Normally with the roller bearing on the drive side and the bush in this side, you'd probably have a little bit sticking up above those locating lugs of the bush, but not much, and you would shim from the drive side over this way onto that, but that's got a considerable amount. So unless I'm missing something, I'll have to have a search through the parts catalogues and see if there is some difference that I'm not aware of with the long stroke engine, and it should have some kind of top hat assembly on the drive side in the bearing, with it, especially with it being apparently worn but not looking worn. Am I missing some kind of thick spacer or shim pack cup or something from that side? I'm not sure. Anyone any ideas, please let me know. So that's where we're up to. So far so good. Yeah, I'm going to call it quits at that for tonight. I say I've been out here all day, so I've been moaned at for not making any cups of tea and things all day. So I'll go and start looking at editing this and do a little bit of research on that drive side. But I think it's going to work. I'd like to get hold of the right crank, an A7 or an A10 crank, to be honest with you. But everything I'm seeing is like, I don't know, £100 plus. There's one on eBay at the moment that's about 75 quid plus carriage, but looking at it, it looks the same as this one. I'm not convinced they've got it labelled right, because these are worth bugger all, and a proper one's worth a bit, so everybody that sells them wants to sell them as the short stroke crank, not the long stroke one. So I'll keep looking, if something will turn up. So really I'd like to start with the right crank if I'm going to make alterations to that time inside journal there. So that's it for now. I don't know how many parts this is going to have been. As I say, it's been a day's worth of sort of work, but I've cut quite a bit out where I've just done plain turning and threading and things like that, just showing a couple of highlights. So we'll see how it looks when I shove it into the editor, and how many hours of footage I've got to mince down into something viewable without you falling asleep. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. get the notification bell, which is up whichever side it is. Make sure you highlight that so you get notifications of when I post things. I've been on sort of holiday and a little bit of isolation for a personal reason from work, so that's why I've had quite a bit of time recently to be able to do these sort of daily videos. This will slow down, I'm afraid, because I'll be back at work next week, and I won't get a chance to do any videos during that week. I sort of do, in weekly terms, I do 5 days one week and 2 days another week, but I do it in sort of what's called Panama pattern, so I'm sort of on off and things. So I'll see what I can do. So I want to try and get this this something like, and see if we can actually do this conversion, just out of my own curiosity. Whether it ends up as a bike or not, we shall see. I hope so. So gather more parts. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.